The breakdown. The wrench slipped from Mira's oil-stained fingers, clattering against the metal deck of the repair bay. She knelt beside the massive engine coupling, her dark hair falling across her face as she fought back tears of frustration. The smell of coolant and burnt metal filled the air of Station Epsilon, a frontier outpost that survived on the edge of known space. "Kes, sweetheart, please try to rest," she whispered to the small bundle curled on a makeshift bed of spare coveralls. Her 6-year-old daughter's fever had broken during the night, but the child remained pale and weak. Mira had no choice but to bring her to work again. The station's medical bay charged more credits than she earned in a month. The repair bay doors hissed open. Supervisor Garrett's heavy boots echoed across the metal flooring as he approached. His weathered face carried the permanent scowl of a man who measured everything by profit margins. "Chen, what did I tell you about bringing that kid here?" His voice cut through the ambient noise of hydraulics and power systems. Mira stood slowly, wiping her hands on her work clothes. "Sir, she's sick. The daycare won't take her with a fever, and I have nowhere else. This is a professional facility, not a nursery. Health regulations, insurance liability, client expectations." Garrett's list felt rehearsed. "Pack your tools. You're done here." The words hit like a plasma blast to the chest. Mira glanced at Kes, who had awakened and was watching with wide, frightened eyes. The child understood enough to know something was wrong. "Please, I need this job. I can keep her quiet. She won't interfere with—" "Decision's final. Security will escort you out if necessary." 30 minutes later, Mira carried her sleeping daughter through the station's lower corridors, their few possessions stuffed into 2 worn bags. The artificial gravity felt heavier with each step. Rent was due in 3 days. Their food rations would last maybe a week. She found a quiet corner near the observation deck, where the massive viewport showed the starfield beyond. Kes stirred in her arms, looking up with those trusting brown eyes that made Mira's heart ache. "Mama, are we going home now?" Mira kissed her daughter's forehead, tasting the salt of her own tears. "Soon, baby. We'll figure something out soon." Through the viewport, a sleek vessel approached the docking rings, its hull scarred but elegant. Mira watched it dock, wondering what kind of life the pilot lived among the stars, free from the crushing weight of impossible choices. The stranger's offer. Dawn cycle brought new desperation. Mira had spent the night in a storage alcove, Kes sleeping fitfully against her shoulder. The station's recycled air felt cold without the warmth of their small quarters, which were now sealed pending eviction. She carried Kes to the public food court, using their last few credits for a cup of warm broth. The child's fever had finally broken completely, leaving her weak but alert. "Look, Mama," Kes pointed with a small finger toward the docking bay entrance. "Pretty ship." The scarred vessel Mira had noticed the night before sat at Dock 7. Its pilot emerged from the airlock, tall and lean with sun-weathered skin and dark hair. He moved with the confident grace of someone comfortable in zero gravity. His clothes were practical but well-made, suggesting success without ostentation. Their eyes met across the court. Something in his expression shifted from casual observation to sharp attention. He approached our table with measured steps. "Excuse me, are you Mira Chen, the engine specialist?" She tensed instinctively. Strangers rarely brought good news. "Depends who's asking." "I'm Captain Jackson Drake. I heard about your situation yesterday. Word travels fast on a station this size." Kes peered around her mother's arm, studying the stranger with curious eyes. Jackson crouched to her level, his stern features softening into something almost paternal. And who might this beautiful young lady be? "I'm Kes. My mama fixes spaceships." "She must be very good at it. I have a ship that needs someone with her skills." Mira felt hope fluttered dangerously in her chest. "What kind of work?" "Long-term position, My ship needs a dedicated engineer for extended operations. Deep space exploration, some cargo runs, nothing illegal." He studied her carefully. "The job includes quarters for both of you, full medical coverage, and standard explorer's wages." It sounded too good to be true, which usually meant it was. "Why me? There are dozens of qualified mechanics on this station." His eyes hardened slightly. "Because most of them wouldn't lose a job protecting their child. I need someone with that kind of integrity." Something in his tone suggested painful experience behind the words. Mira felt Kess's small hand grip her sleeve, trusting her to make the right choice. "When would we start?" "Immediately. We launch in 4 hours." He stood, offering a data pad. "Ship specifications, contract terms, crew quarters layout. Take an hour to decide." As he walked away, Kess tugged her mother's shirt. "I like him, Mama. He has kind eyes." Mira studied the contract details, hardly believing what she read. The terms were generous, almost suspiciously so. But looking at her daughter's thin face and remembering the empty feeling of their sealed quarters, she realized they had little choice but to trust in the kindness of a stranger.
Along the stars. 3 weeks into their journey, Mira had found a rhythm aboard the Starhawk. The ship was larger than it appeared from outside, with efficient living spaces and a well-equipped engineering section that hummed with properly maintained systems. Jackson had given them the best quarters, while he took smaller accommodations near the bridge. Kess had adapted to ship life with the resilience of childhood, making friends with the ship's automated systems and spending hours in the observation lounge watching hyperspace streams flow past the viewports. "Engine efficiency at 96%, Mira reported to the bridge during their morning briefing. "Power coupling alignment is perfect. Whoever designed this ship knew their business." Jackson looked up from the navigation console, pride evident in his expression. "I designed her myself. Took 5 years to save for the materials." Their conversations had grown easier over the weeks. She learned he was a former military pilot who'd chosen civilian life after losing his squadron in a border conflict. He never mentioned family, but sometimes caught him staring at Kess with an expression of profound longing. "We're approaching the Cygnus asteroid field," he announced. "There are reports of rare mineral deposits in the outer rings. Dangerous work, but potentially profitable." Mira joined him at the pilot station, standing close enough to catch his subtle, masculine scent mixed with the ship's recycled air. "How dangerous?" "The asteroids contain crystallized energy cores, beautiful, valuable, and highly unstable. One wrong move and they can chain react across half the field." She watched his hands move across the controls with practiced precision. Strong hands, she noticed, with small scars that spoke of practical experience rather than desk work. "Why risk it?" she asked softly. He glanced at her, and for a moment his carefully maintained distance seemed to waver. "Because some things are worth the danger." Their eyes held longer than necessary. Mira felt her breath catch as the space between them seemed to shrink without either moving. "Mama!" Kess's voice from the corridor broke the moment. "Come see the pretty rocks." They separated quickly, but the warmth in Mira's chest lingered as she followed her daughter to the observation deck. Through the viewport, the asteroid field stretched before them like a galaxy of jewels, each crystal formation catching and reflecting the distant starlight. That evening, after Kess had fallen asleep, Mira found Jackson in the ship's small galley, nursing a cup of coffee and staring out at the slowly tumbling asteroids. "Couldn't sleep?" "Too much to think about." He gestured to the chair beside him. "Sit, please." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the cosmic dance outside. Finally, he spoke. "I've been alone for 3 years. Choice, mostly. Easier than risking connections that might not last. I understood the feeling. And now?" He looked at her with eyes that held both hope and fear. "Now I'm not sure easy is what I want anymore." New Horizons. The storm passed after 18 hours, leaving the asteroid field transformed. Many of the crystal formations had been supercharged by the electromagnetic bombardment, glowing with an inner fire that made the entire region look like a nebula of living gems. "Sensors are picking up something unusual," Jackson reported as they emerged from their shelter. His manner toward Mira had subtly changed, carrying a new warmth and protectiveness. That large asteroid cluster, bearing 27 Mark IV. Mira studied the readings from her engineering station, Kess perched on her lap and helping by pointing at interesting displays. "Energy signatures are off the charts. Those aren't normal crystal formations." They approached the cluster cautiously. What they found took their breath away. The storm had somehow fused dozens of crystalline asteroids into a single massive formation that pulsed with rainbow light. At its core, veins of pure quantum crystal, the rarest and most valuable substance in known space. "That's enough quantum crystal to buy a small planet." "Or build a new life," Mira added, meeting his eyes with growing understanding. They spent 3 days carefully extracting samples, working together with a harmony that felt natural and right. Cass helped where she could, her excitement infectious as she named the different colored crystals and made up stories about their magical properties. On their final evening in the field, after Cass had gone to bed, Jackson found Mira in the observation lounge watching the crystal formation's farewell glow. "There's something I need to tell you," he said, settling beside her on the cushioned bench. "About my past, about why I really hired you." Mira felt tension creep into her shoulders. "Go on." "I wasn't entirely honest before. I did lose my squadron, but not in combat. I was commanding officer when my pilot became sick during a mission. Command ordered me to leave her behind rather than risk the operation. I refused. Lost my commission, my career, everything. But I couldn't abandon someone under my protection." Understanding bloomed in her chest. "You saw yourself in me, in what I did for Kess. I saw someone with the same choices I made, and I knew you were the kind of person I wanted in my life." She took his hand, feeling the familiar warmth of his touch. "And now? Now I want to ask you something that might change everything." He turned to face her fully. "This quantum crystal discovery is worth enough to set us up for life. We could buy our own station, start a legitimate business, give Cass the kind of future she deserves." "We?" "If you'll have me. Not just as your captain, but as your partner. In everything." His eyes searched her face. "I know it's complicated, that you have every reason not to trust." She silenced him with a kiss, pouring all her answer into the contact. When they separated, both were breathing hard. "Yes," she whispered against his lips. "To all of it. Yes." Later, wrapped together in her quarters, while Cass slept peacefully in the adjoining room, they planned their future among whispered promises and gentle touches. The quantum crystals would fund a repair station in a growing sector, where Mira's skills would be valued and Cass could attend proper schools. "What should we call it?" Jackson asked, his arm tightening around her. "Starlight Station. Because that's what you gave us. Hope, shining in the darkness." Through the viewport, the transformed crystal field continued its eternal dance, marking the place where a struggling mother and a lonely pilot found something worth more than all the quantum crystals in the galaxy. They found home.